This is Charles Darwin. See this little point at the tip of my ear? You've got one too. It's called a Darwin's point, and it's named after me. Now, in my 1871 book, The Descent of Man, I talked about degenerate or vestigial structures that are in the human body that are left over from our evolutionary ancestors, structures that were once useful but which we now no longer use. And in the case of the point at the tip of the ear, our animal ancestors used them to enhance the acuity of hearing. Now, in the human lineage, we rely more on sight and not so much on hearing. And so the point at the tip of the ear remains prominent in dogs and cats, which rely on hearing more than we do, but has degenerated in humans. Now, that's a minor example of a vestigial characteristic. A larger one would be the appendix, which is a part of the intestine that has degenerated from the cecum, which is an important part of the digestive system of other animals, but it's not so important in us today. You find vestigial structures in lots of other species, even in plants. There are flowers that have little stamens that no longer produce pollen. And what happens is natural selection stops maintaining those structures, and then they degenerate, but they don't entirely go away. They're still there, offering evidence of the evolutionary ancestry of humans or of other species. The best example of all is the DNA that is invisible inside of your chromosomes. I wish I'd known about DNA. You are so privileged to know about DNA. DNA contains genetic information that gives the instructions telling your cells what to do. But most of the DNA in your chromosomes does not contain genetic instructions. A lot of it is old, dead genes that are no longer used. A good example would be scent recognition genes. The original mammals had about 1,000 scent recognition genes. Dogs and mice still use most of those, but in the human lineage, 650 of them have degenerated. They're still there in your chromosomes, but you're not using them anymore. They're dead. We only use about 350 of them. I believe that that is very good evidence that humans had evolutionary ancestors. What's the alternative? Do you think that maybe when God made Adam, he put 650 useless, dead genes for scent recognition into his chromosomes and only gave him 350 that he could use? That doesn't sound very reasonable, God playing a trick like that. This point on the tip of my ear is not actually proof of evolutionary ancestry, but I believe that the thousands of dead genes in our chromosomes, not just scent recognition genes, but many others, are in fact evidence that we had evolutionary ancestors. This is Charles Darwin. Tally ho,